Alright, let's try this again. There we go. Second time is the charm. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Barnum 11970. If you've never heard of my channel before, I hope you will check out some of my other videos, as my channel is dedicated to try and talking about common sense, exposing lies, and trying to do our best to be more independent, free thinkers, so we're not controlled by a system full of greed and fear. So with that being said, I'd like to welcome those, whether you're watching this live or you're watching it minutes, months, years later. I thank you for taking the time, and I hope you will listen to what I have to say and participate by leaving comments and getting interaction started, because the more people communicate with each other, the more we could see we have a lot in common. And I want to talk about this Obamacare slash quote-unquote affordable health care. It is currently 3:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 14th of March, 2017. Luckily, here on the East Coast, we have avoided the snowstorm. It is actually raining and took away all the snow, so I'm happy about that. But I want to talk about the healthcare issue that we are starting to grow here. And I don't know how much has actually been shown, because actually all this time I've been speaking, it says it's only had 15 seconds worth of time going on. So I apologize if all of a sudden you just hear part of it, but that's YouTube for you. So if you hear the whole thing, that's great. If not, that's just YouTube. So we're going to talk a little bit about Obamacare slash the affordable health care. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that our government doesn't really care about us. Now, why can I say that? Well, even if you take away any conspiracy theories or anything that sounds different, even if it may be true, the fact that you have Republicans on one side trying to do things, and you'll have the Democrats who will automatically just dismiss it. They're causing these problems just for the fact that they don't agree with each other. So instead of people sitting down like rational human beings and trying to create a dialogue where we can work together, we have a system, a two-party system that says, well, if you're a Republican, you have to vote Republican. If you're Democrat, you have to vote Democrat, and you're not supposed to go really in between party lines and communicate with each other. So they're not about trying to help the American people. As much as they want you to believe that, actions always speak louder than words. So you could see how our government system is failing. You could see how our monetary system is failing, how our educational system is failing, or how our health is failing. Because if they really cared about things, they would not be doing things so backwards. Now, when it comes to Obamacare, I don't have it, and I never will get it. And if you're one of millions of people who don't have Obamacare, the quote-unquote Affordable Health Care Act, you get penalized, especially if somebody doesn't get it because they can't afford it. Because you see all over the country, premiums have gone up to the point where, a single person paying $500 a month for health care that they may not need, that's thousands of dollars each year being thrown away on something you never need. Now, obviously, if somebody has, conditions that have already been established and they need health care, obviously it's going to benefit them in that case. And somebody on Medicaid who's not really paying for it. But I'm talking about the people that can't afford it. They get penalized. So when you file your taxes, they penalize you. They take money from you for being poor. So right there, that's backwards right there. So one of the things, government tends to focus on things backwards. Now, obviously, healthcare is a good thing if you're sick, but they don't focus on the fact of what's causing people to be sick. It's almost like having a rowboat in the middle of the ocean, and you discover it has a leak, and it's starting to fill up with water. And if you don't do anything about it, you're going to sink. And let's just assume it's a rowboat, you're in the middle of the ocean, there's no way you'll have a chance to be rowing away to freedom and save yourself. So if you don't do anything, you're going to sink. And then all of a sudden a boat comes along, and a person says, oh, I see your boat is leaking. Well, here's a bucket. If you use this bucket, you could scoop out the water, and you won't sink. And they give you the bucket, or they sell you the bucket, very expensively, and then they drive away. Now, obviously, if that bucket keeps you from sinking, then that's a good thing. But you'll spend the rest of your life scooping out that water. So in other words, the bucket would have helped, but it's not the best solution. Because if you find out what caused the hole and you repair the hole so it's no longer leaking, then you no longer need the bucket. So our government system, as much as it's going to benefit people that are sick to have medicine that could save their lives, because if you notice, medicines are not made to cure you. They're made to treat you. There's a difference between treating and curing. Treating means they have a lifelong customer for a lot of times. That's why you see people on medications sometimes for the rest of their life. And because of all the side effects, eventually their body breaks down and they end up having other problems where they need more medication. Now, they don't give you this medication for free. They sell it to you in one way, shape, or form. Because even with your insurance, that's one of the reasons why insurance goes up all the time. Because even if you're not paying for something, your costs will rise. It's like having a car in the front of your house and somebody just happens to drive along, smashes into your car, and takes off. Yes, you might get a check for the compensation from no fault, but your insurance is going to rise even though you did nothing wrong. So they're all about extracting as much currency as they can from people. So whether you're a Democrat or Republican, whether it's Obamacare or the revised healthcare that they're trying to pass into law, they're not focusing on what causes the problems. And what are one of the things that causes the problem? Well, how about genetically modified food? You don't see any government official, any news media talking about that. They just want to fight back and forth. Like, for example, I watch all the time Sean Spencer's briefings every time they're on. Not because I care, not because I'm in love with the person. It's because I want to see what's really being talked about and how much they're wasting our time. And you see the media, one of the biggest things they focus on about healthcare is the fact, oh, look how many millions of people have coverage. Well, Sean Spencer's made it very clear, and they ask the same thing over and over again, which means one of two things. Either the media is stupid, or they're just trying to create an agenda by saying the same thing over and over again to make that get stuck in your head. It's like a song that you hate when you first hear it, but they play it so many times, all of a sudden you like it. That's what programming is all about. So they talk about the fact of how many millions of people have coverage. Well, if your doctor doesn't take your plan, or it gets so expensive, the deductible, that you can't use it. Because let's say, for example, let's say you're paying $300 a month for your quote-unquote affordable health care. So that's $300 a month taken out, and let's say you haven't used it in years. So that's thousands of dollars being taken out on something you haven't even used yet. But let's say you end up, you or your child or yourself gets sick. And it's not a major thing. Let's say you come down with pneumonia. It can be major if you don't treat it. But let's say you find out that the deductible is $6,000 to $7,000, and the bill comes out to $5,000 for your hospital stay. Well, since your deductible is $6,000, you have to pay all of that out of pocket. Now, how many people can afford to do that? So, yes, you may have a card that says you are insured, but if you never use it, or you can't afford to use it, or doctors don't accept it, then what good is it? It's like having a winning lottery ticket to a lottery that ended 5 years ago. What good is having the winning ticket if you never cashed it in? So they try and make it backwards. So the media will always say the same thing over and over again. Well, how many millions of people are have coverage? Well, they're not using them. They're not allowed to use them. A lot of places, doctors don't accept certain programs anymore. Insurance companies are dropping people left and right. The media and the government don't get it. They're there to fight amongst themselves because either plan is going to make somebody a crap ton of money. And that's what it's all about. Because if they really cared about your well-being, well, they would talk about genetically modified foods. They would talk about chemicals like aspartame and all of the corn sugar and all the things that are hurting us and ruining our health. But they don't focus on that. They're not focusing on that leaky boat and repairing or finding out what caused the hole. They want you to have the bucket so you spend the rest of your life scooping out the water. Because they'll make you get scared and say, well, if you didn't have at least the bucket, well, then you would certainly sink and you drowned, and you don't want that. And yet all the government officials, they have a different form of health care. They don't have the same health care as we do. And because when they're wealthier, they're able to afford things like organic food, which, by the way, a couple of decades ago was just called food. I seriously doubt that Obama, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, or anybody in the House, the Senate, or any of them, or even the media, are eating macaroni and cheese or ramen noodles because that's all they can afford. I'm sure they're probably buying organic products, which reduces your risk of being sick. If you see, I've made several videos recently because I'm married to a vegan and I've become a vegetarian. I can't go full vegan, just not at that stage, but I don't remember the last time I had a steak. It's been years and I'm happy for it. And there are a couple of videos I made recently that I had cravings for basically garbage. And I immediately the next day, within less than 24 hours, got severely ill. But they don't want to focus on that because in the long run, this is a business to them. They make money off of you. If everybody was healthy, they would not be able to sell their products. And I know people make fun of things like the Oregon pyramids that I make and the sun gazing that I talk about. But if you look up, Google how many medicines have been taken off the market over the past few decades. How many of them are taken off the market because people died from them? The side effects ended up killing them. You'd wonder, what is the crazy thing? Because medicines are not made to help you. And I'll give you a prime example. I've had breathing problems since I was a baby. It was something that I was born with, something I've lived with. And for the 2 years I started sun gazing, my breathing problems went away. And that's why when it starts getting warmer again, I'm going to start sun gazing again. And if you don't know anything about sun gazing, before you go just look up at the sun, make sure you know what you're doing. Because it's like fire. If fire can cook your food, it can keep you warm, but it can also burn you alive if you don't know what you're doing. But I've always had inhalers. Now, if I'm about to have an asthma attack and I could drop dead, yes, it's great to have an inhaler to save my life. But when I found out that milk causes breathing problems because of the mucous membranes in cows, it ends up clogging up your lungs. When I got rid of dairy products, I started breathing better. And I didn't need these inhalers as much. And like I said, when I sun gazed, I didn't need them at all. So the media's job is to distract you and get you angry. The government's job is to give you a plan that makes you think it's well, but you think of the fact of, oh, it's going to help me feel better. Instead of you questioning to the government, well, why aren't you helping us never get sick so we don't need the coverage? We don't talk about that. The government doesn't talk about that. The media doesn't talk about that because they want you to be conditioned to think you only have one alternative. And that's why I tell people, eliminate garbage food. Now, smoking is bad for you. If you smoke, well, you're literally poisoning yourself. And here's the thing about emphysema that most people will never tell you about. Emphysema is not a disease, even though that's what they want you to think about. Emphysema is caused by the inhalation of the smoke. It's the heat. Put a match near a piece of paper and watch, even if it's not touching it, watch how the paper will start to brown. Your alveoli in your lungs are microscopically thin. So every time you inhale a cigarette, it could have nothing in it. It's just the heat alone that's burning your lungs, which is what creates that charcoal-like look on your lungs. And that's why if you stop smoking, it doesn't spread because it's not a disease. You're just stopping putting heat into your lungs, burning the tissue. Your alveoli is what changes the oxygen and places it into the bloodstream. So that's why when you exercise, your heart rate pumps faster. And that's another reason when you have breathing problems that a lot of times they prescribe steroids. It's because it makes your heart pump faster, it expands your lungs, and you breathe better. But if you're smoking, forget about the tar and the nicotine and all the other chemicals they put in there to get you addicted. It's the heat alone that ends up damaging your lungs. And once you stop, it no longer continues because you're not inhaling heat anymore and you're not burning your lungs. But they don't want to teach you about that. They want you to take nicotine gum. They want you to go get, medicines to stop you from smoking. They want you to have operations to maybe get a transplant, a lung transplant. Because they can make a lot more money than telling you, listen, if you smoke cigarettes, the tar and nicotine are going to do their damage. It's going to get you addicted, and whatever chemicals they put in there. But the heat itself is burning your lungs. So you can have a cigarette that's absolutely empty, and you just inhale a piece of burning paper. You're still causing the same damage. So they don't want to educate people. And then most people will say, well, if I don't smoke, I guess I'm going to have to use something. So they use chewing gum. Look at the ingredients of every single chewing gum. It has aspartame. Aspartame has been proven to cause cancer. And yet, what is one of the things we give our children? No, we don't want them smoking cigarettes, of course. But here's a stick of gum. That's good for you. It's good for you, you think, because you haven't been told what's bad for you. And how do you search for things you don't know about? And that's why channels like mine and others are so important, because it gets you to think about these things and at the very least be aware of them. Because the media is not talking about aspartame and genetically modified foods. The government is not talking about these things. Your education system in school, whether you're in first grade or you're in your fourth year of college, they don't talk about these things. They want you to worry about transgenderism. They want you to talk about division of race and religion. They want you to hate each other. Look over here while we steal from you over here. It's all about distraction. They're all about not fixing the problem. Like the government always talks about terrorism, but they never stop and talk about the reason why there are people out there that hate us. How many normal people out there wake up and say, you know what, I feel like killing somebody today. I feel like bombing somebody today. You know what, I'm bored. Let me go murder a village. That's not normal. There has to be a reason. But we don't get into that. We don't get into the fact that we have hundreds of military bases all around the world in other people's countries. We don't talk about the fact how to control a system, we put a bank in place, put the country in debt, and if the leader doesn't want to fit into the agenda, they get replaced or murdered, and they get replaced with somebody who will play ball and gets plenty of money while they bankrupt their citizens. And when they finally have tried to pay back everything they can and they can't, we take their resources. Wouldn't you be pissed off? Just imagine if China all of a sudden put military bases in the United States and they started bankrupting the people and started confiscating all of your property. You'd be pretty pissed too. You'd want to fight back too, wouldn't you? But they don't want to talk about that because that doesn't fit their agenda. It doesn't make them lots of money. It definitely doesn't keep you fearful so you could be easily controlled. They don't want to talk about things like the sun gazing. I know it sounds crazy because you'll never hear it in school, you'll never hear it in the media, you'll never hear it from a doctor, you'll never hear it from a politician. So yes, it sounds absolutely weird. I can understand that. When I first heard about it, I thought the same thing. But instead of automatically dismissing it, I looked into it and researched it and spent months of looking into it before I even attempted it. And then I did it, and I have videos proving that I did it. I have a video where I did it for 7 minutes. I have another video where I did it approximately 25 minutes. And I have another video when I was doing it for 40 minutes. Again, you have to know how to do it. You have to do it properly. And while I was doing it, I didn't have any breathing problems. My stress levels were down. My brain was working overtime in the fact that I can come up with ideas. I was the most philosophical during that time. I was more active physically. I was jogging on the beach 2 to 3 miles a day, barefoot in the sand every single day. It's free. It doesn't have any side effects other than feeling good. It's not like you take, like, for example, something as simple as Viagra can cause blindness. And people want to say sun gazing is crazy, but, keep popping pills. Keep putting radiation to cure things. Well, and it doesn't even cure it, it treats it. A lot of times it just lays dormant until it comes back again. How many cancer patients have been told, we cured your cancer only to have it come back years later? They can lie dormant. So whether you have Obamacare, Trump care, whatever you want to call it, or any kind of other health care, they're focusing not on the problem. They're trying to come up with a reaction to a problem instead of fixing the problem. Just imagine if you were driving in your car and all of a sudden you hear a really bad rattling noise in your engine. Now, a smart person would go get it fixed, find out what caused it, fix it, and solve the problem. What they want you to do is turn up the radio louder than the noise so you can't hear it anymore. out of sight, out of mind. So just because you can't hear it doesn't mean it's not still there and it's not causing problems. They don't want you to think logically. They want to inform you, this is how it is, this is what we're going to do, this is what you need to do. And sadly, most people follow that suit to the point where there will be people that will specifically attack me no matter what I do, because they've been so conditioned by this program and this agenda that they're not even smart enough to get it. And that's why no matter what happens, because another one of my videos, my video about the appropriateness of what's-her-face, Demi Moore kissing that 15-year-old boy, they took that off advertisement too, so it's not advertisement friendly. So again, they're trying to discourage people by taking away income. The good thing is I don't make millions of dollars off it for me to care. What is it going to take, $8 away from me that they took away the advertisement? Okay, I think I can live with that. It's not going to discourage me. I'm going to keep talking about this stuff until finally there's somebody out there that gets it. So if you want to live a better life and not need Obamacare or Trump care or I don't care, get soda out of your life. Get coffee out of your life. Stop drinking alcohol. It's poison. That's why you can have a thing called alcohol poisoning. I know it's great to get a buzz. I used to drink all the time. I haven't drank in years. Get rid of dairy products. There's a reason why with meat, I know everybody loves meat, but the thing about meat is it fills up in your colon, and that's one of the reasons why people get colon cancer. Your body's not meant to digest it. Believe it or not, we're not carnivores. As a kid, I hated steak. I hated meat. It was because my parents forced me to eat it. So don't even talk about the cruelty to animal part. But it's the fact that our body cannot digest it. That's why people that eat meat all the time, their stomachs are always bloated. They're always filled with gas. They end up filling up their colon. They get a lot of bacteria that eats that meat that's not being digested, and it causes illness. But we don't want to hear these things because they make the poison taste good. Why do you think they put so much sugar in everything? It's because they want you addicted. Because they know it will get you sick. And when you get sick, you have to spend money. They cannot profit off of you if you're well. So they want you to listen. They want you to think alternatives are crazy. I mean, look at how much they tried to stop marijuana. We have a thing called medical marijuana. What does that tell you right there? You ever hear of medical dog crap? No, because there's no medical benefit out of dog crap. But there is benefit out of marijuana. But here's the thing. Most of the time, they want you to just smoke it. So again, like I talked about earlier, if you smoke something, the heat is what's causing emphysema in your lungs by burning it. And I've said this before. Smoking marijuana, it does have benefits. But it's almost like using a gun as a back scratcher. You can use a gun as a back scratcher. It will serve as a purpose to do that, but it's probably not the best thing for that device. Medical marijuana, the best benefit of marijuana is if you distill the plant, which is a plant that is grown by God. If you're a religious person, it's not some chemical that's made. It's a natural plant that grows from the ground, grows from the earth, provided by whatever God you believe in. But if you distill the oils from the plant, it's been said to have medical benefits that could even cure you. I mean, since I gave up a lot of the garbage, like especially soda, especially diet soda, I mean, being a massage therapist, I was starting to develop problems with my hands, like arthritis kind of pain, to the point where I'd bend my hands and I would feel it in my knuckles. Well, since I eliminated alcohol, since I eliminated soda, since I drank almond milk instead of regular milk, the pain in my fingers have gone. So just imagine if I kept eating all that garbage and my arthritis got worse and worse, what would happen? Eventually, I'd have to have arthritis medicine. And maybe eventually I would have to have operations. And then eventually I might not be able to do my job anymore because the pain was so severe. But because I eliminated chemicals in my body that were causing these problems, the pain went away. And I noticed also when I would eat things like the cheese puffs, And I'm not going to mention any specific brand, but any of this garbage snacks that we love because they're so addicting. I found that when I would eat them, the pain in my knuckles would come back and I would get headaches. But they don't want to talk about that. They want you to keep eating this crap. And they make it taste good. They make it exciting. I mean, look at any beer commercial. What do they show? A bunch of men and women, beautiful men and women, at some fancy beach in some Caribbean island, half naked, all dancing around each other, having the best time of their lives, and you associate that with beer. They get you with their emotion. So again, when it comes to healthcare, they don't care about your health. They'll make you think they do, but they are ultimately there to get you sick so they can profit off of it. And if you think that's crazy, just look at everybody these days. We are fatter than ever before. There are more birth defects than ever before. There are more people depressed than ever before. There are more people sick than ever before. If they were so much into healthcare, and they've been doing this for decades, if not centuries, why are we going in the opposite direction if what they're doing is supposed to be working? Just think about it logically. Get the emotion away from it. They want you emotionally involved. They want you to sit here and say, this is garbage, I'm going to thumb it down. Instead of saying, you know what, let me look into these things. If you want to believe in any government, whether it's Democrat or Republican, you're going to continue to fall down the same trap. And that's why I've tried to warn people about this. Trump may be a better alternative than Hillary, but they are in a corrupt system. Notice how much, no matter how much Trump tries to do something right, and let's say he's 100% legit and you really want to change the world, how much opposition is he getting from the media, from the Democrats, and even people that are supposed to be Republicans? You cannot fight a corrupt system. Mother Teresa can't go into the mafia and say, I'm going to change it, because they'll just execute her. This is why I keep telling people, you keep relying on the next savior to come along, you're going to be disappointed every time. You don't see Hillary Clinton in jail. Wasn't that a big promise? Talked about draining the swamp. How many of these lifetime politicians are gone? How many of them have been arrested? I mean, I've talked about all the pedophilia and everything. How come no one's in jail? How come they're not researching that? They want you to focus on things that they could profit off of you on. And if Hillary Clinton would have become president, she would have continued Obamacare. It would have imploded on itself after a year or two. The Federal Reserve would have finally run out of bullets to be able to keep the monetary system alive, and the economy would have collapsed. And you see how much they're trying to blame everything on Russia. They would have had a beautiful scapegoat and say, oh, the reason all this is happening is because of Russian interference. We would have had a nuclear war and we would have probably all died. Well, not them, because they would be deep underground in their bunkers and they would be surviving for a millennium down there if they had to. But us common people, us regular people, would all be burned to death or die of radiation. You notice how, and if you don't think they have these underground bunkers and everything, you're just plain stupid and naive. Sorry to tell you. All you have to do is research it. This is not something that's even hidden. And if they really cared about the people, how come they don't make underground bunkers that regular people can go under? Why is it only for government officials? I thought they cared about us. They only care about us while they're making money. They're using us, and we seem to thank them for it and keep applauding them and keep voting new people in to take care of us. And we wonder why things are getting worse and not better. Somebody explain to me how this world is getting in a better, more unified, more healthy, more rich environment where we're all wealthy or closer to wealth. Somebody explain to me how that's happening. It's not. And these are the leaders all around the world. That's why they're wealthy and we're not, because they're taking advantage of us. But you know what? There's an old saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, we've been fooled how many times? I'm not getting fooled any longer because I see the bigger picture. And I know there are plenty of people here that see the bigger picture, but there aren't many. That's why there are only 21 people watching this right now. If somebody like PewDiePie did a live show, there'd probably be 1.2 million watching. because they're not going to learn anything. And that's why YouTube is going to promote channels like that, because it's going to make them a shit ton of money, and it's going to make nobody learn anything. So channels like mine and others are going to be hidden. They're going to have no interest for the average person, because my show is not flashy. It's not full of comedy. It's not showing you a bunch of pretty little things to look at. I'm not talking about things that'll get you pissed off or just, distracted. Mine is all about making you think the truth, seeing things in a different way. And unfortunately, we're the minority. But as you can see here, I'm not giving up. And I don't want you to give up. Because the day we give up is the day we lose. Like a famous person once said, Yogi Berra, it ain't over till it's over. And as far as I'm concerned, it ain't over. We've had people saying in 2012 we were going to be destroyed. How many videos have there been over the years saying Narabu was coming to destroy us on a specific date that has already passed like 50 times over? They're always talking about FEMA camps taking us away. They always want you to be in fear. Fear makes you easier to control. None of these things have happened. Can they happen? There's always the possibility. But they get us based on the fact of tomorrow may be the day. And because tomorrow isn't here yet, we always have the what if. And yes, Mike, sorry to disappoint you. No satire here. No kind of tires at all. And with that being said, I want to thank everybody for listening to what I have to say. Please get yourself out of the bank. Stop feeding the system. Cut up all of your credit cards. The only credit card you should even have, if you need one at all, is to get a bank card, so you're only spending the money you have in your account. Get a federal credit union, because they'll have the same benefits, only it's not government run. Get yourself some physical gold and silver. Stop just believing everything that you're told. Question things. If at the very least to verify, to make sure what they said was accurate. Start eating better. Start looking into alternative medicines. Stop fooling for the same trap. Or do nothing. Because the beautiful thing about free will is you can do the right thing, the wrong thing, or nothing. But there's always consequences, and there's always reactions to it. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you do nothing, don't be surprised that nothing changes. If you look the other way, eventually one day, it's going to affect you. So thank you for watching. Interact with each other. Spread the word. Help share this, because YouTube damn well isn't. So I need your help. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered. Thank you for listening. When this uploads, please come back, leave a comment, please leave a like, please share it, and let's get some dialogue going. We can make the change if we want to. Or we can keep letting people convince us that they're the ones that are going to save the world and wonder why we're getting worse and not better. Have a great day.